The number one reason why running big bluffs on micro, low, and mid stakes is not working has nothing to do with GTO or theory or whatever. It's simply a psychological reason, which I'm going to be sharing in this video. So put yourself in those situations when you have a rather big pot, maybe 3-bet pot, or it went bad flop, bad turn, and then you have a certain hand on the river, maybe a weak top pair, maybe weak over pair, and the board has developed kind of ugly. Very often we're aware that we have a hand that wants to value bet, yet we don't really know what to do against the raise. Then we kind of freeze, we check, because we know that's the more comfortable line, because we know what to do against the bet. We have an easy bluff catcher. But also, we're going to be missing out on a lot of very profitable value bets just to avoid this like 5 or 10% of the time where we're going to be facing a raise, which is kind of stupid because at the end of the day, with checking, we're losing money versus betting, which would make us more money, just to avoid that very unlikely scenario of facing a raise. And our brain likes to do that. It's a very natural behavior of seeking the path of least resistance. So that's very natural, and this is something especially lesser experienced players are not so aware of, and then they keep checking over and over in spots where they're supposed to value bet. So what does it mean with bluff raising? And in fact, this is one of the main reasons why I believe high stakes players are so much better than mid stakes, low, or micro stakes players, is because they find all these thin value bets, not afraid to face raises. But let me explain you how it will impact your bluff raises. And again, it has nothing to do with theory, it's just simply a psychological reason. I will be using my amazing painting skills to illustrate my point. I don't even need pyro, I don't even need a real hand example here, because it's just something where I believe once you get the gist that it will make click and you get the point, and I hope you will stop running these terrible bluffs. And I know a lot of you GTO warriors out there in the comments, chat pros, oh my god, I'm so much better than micro and low stakes, like they don't believe me, they don't, they keep calling and I play so great, but they don't understand my plays. Dude, seriously, what the fuck? Right? If you keep doing the same over and over again and it doesn't work out, that's insanity. So listen, you have players that are not so experienced, and they are doing a bunch of mistakes, and you are not taking that into consideration, and you keep doing the same over and over again. So if our opponent bets and we want to raise them, what you need to consider is, what are we trying to accomplish? So when we bet, again, massively oversimplified just to make my point here, right? We have a certain part of very strong hands, nuts, second nuts, that we're never going to be folding against the raise, right? We're happy to bet, and we're also going to call off a raise. That's the part we're never going to make them fold. Then we have a part that usually it's a bit more, again, don't hang on the ratio here, it's just about to make my point clear. Then we have hands that we know are still crystal clear bets, but we kind of hate facing our raise, right? Let's say we have aces, 3-bet pot, we value bet on the low board, then there's a 9 and a 10. We know opponent can still have kings, queens, jacks, some flop top pairs or whatever, and then he jams. We kind of hate our lives, but we know we have to value bet. So sometimes we're going to be calling it off, sometimes we fold. So let's say, yeah, I don't know. Here sometimes we call, and here sometimes we fold. Beautiful. And then there's this part here where they're going to be just bluffs, like trash, right? Bet folds. And they're going to be a bunch of supposedly thin value bets that are also easy bet folds. So in order for you to run a big bluff, a profitable bluff, this has to be a minimum amount of hands for your bluff to be profitable. So the problem though is that a certain part here is actually not in an opponent's range, because they put this in their checking range, right? And this is very, very dangerous for you running a bluff, because once this part is not in their range, then you will have way less success, because you more often are going to be running into this range. So the likelihood of you finding a bet fold in your opponent's range decreases significantly. And of course, additionally, it also plays a role that people hate folding on micro and low stakes, and they have a harder time letting go of some of these hands here. So this is what I would consider really hurts your win rate, and you hear that very often in me saying on stream, I'm not going to have any bluffs here. I will never bluff in this spot. So this is where you need to be aware of the weaknesses in humans. It's just how it is. That we avoid conflict, we avoid uncomfortable situations, we avoid situations we're not so experienced of. And the moments we're in a big pot on the river, betting, facing a jam is probably the sports we have experienced the least. I mean, we have experienced thousands of spots where we see bet the flop, maybe face a check raise on the flop, right? We kind of feel comfortable in those situations. But on the river, we kind of want to avoid this. So subconsciously, what we do is we check with a lot of these hands that are actually, in fact, profitable thin value bets and then afford against the raise. And even the problem is that a lot of players, and I see this a lot in my coachings, I see that a lot on our Discord, just join our Discord and convince yourself. Just be mindful. And this is why I encourage everyone to participate in conversations, in forums, in Discords, wherever, so you get more experience of how other players think about poker. I'm doing this shit now for 10 years with hundreds of coachings and thousands of hours of coachings, and I don't know how many tens of thousands entries I've seen, database analysis, I've seen the stats. I know that a lot of these river spots, if you own the channel masterclass, I show these spots with data in the course. You can convince yourself. You don't need to do this. I'm showing this here now as well. And this is where even it gets more problematic if a part of this, when people are really getting afraid, right, later stage of the tournament, no, like I don't want to risk my tournament live. I don't know, I'm going to level myself into hero calling. I'm going to be checking my overpair here. That gets even more terrible. So be careful and listen. If one of you GTO warriors now are going to be spamming into the comments, but Ben, we're not going to be balanced then. Fuck it, I'm going to hunt you down. I promise. You don't need to take GTO into consideration in those spots. So this is something where we are aware and mindful that our opponents are not experienced enough, are afraid to face those very awkward situations. I mean, we even experience ours. I can speak even from my own experience. So I hope you found some value in this video, and then good luck with the Sunday grind today. See you guys.